The story begins with an ex-American soldier named Nick who is serving a 10-year sentence in a Japanese prison. Seeing his life being wasted like this, Nick was often quiet and dejected. One day, while he was on bathroom cleaning duty, he noticed 5 vicious men coming out of a room. They looked extremely dangerous and intimidating. After the men left, Nick went into the room and saw a man hanging from the ceiling. Panicked, Nick immediately called out to the prison guards for help. However, when the guards arrived, instead of praising him, they started beating him and then threw him into a cell. The cell was very small and suffocating, and Nick soon realized he was sharing it with the very man he had saved. The man's name was Kiyoshi, a member of the Shiraimitsu gang. He revealed that he had a plan to escape prison, for which he needed Nick's help. If Nick helped him, he would, in return, receive the support of the Shiraimitsu gang. According to Kiyoshi, they first needed a sharp-edged tool, which would be Nick's responsibility to find. Then, Nick would have to attack Kiyoshi with this sharp weapon, after which the prison guards would take him to the hospital, where his gang members would already be waiting for them. After thinking for a while, Nick finally agreed to do the job. The opportunity arose when all the prisoners were taken outside for work. Seizing the right moment, Nick pocketed a stone. Back in his cell, he began to sharpen the stone, after which Kiyoshi was fully prepared for the next step. Before getting injured, Kiyoshi reminded Nick that he had to inform the guards about the incident in time so that he would survive. Otherwise, if I lose too much blood, I'll die right here. Nick did exactly as planned. As soon as Kiyoshi started bleeding, Nick called the guards for help, making Kiyoshi's plan a complete success. From the next day, Nick's status in prison rose significantly. With the support of the Shiraimitsu gang, he no longer had to live by the prison's rules, and gradually his sentence was also reduced. A short time later, he was released from prison, but by now, Nick had completely changed. As soon as Nick got out of prison, he saw a car already waiting for him. The moment he got in, they took him straight to the Shiraimitsu gang's headquarters, where some of the gang's leaders were waiting for him. Upon meeting Nick, they first thanked him for helping Kiyoshi and then gave him his first job, to close a deal with an American businessman. Nick, without a second thought, agreed to the task. That evening, the gang members gave Nick some money for expenses. Instead of resting, Nick went out to explore the city. After wandering for a while, he ended up in a bar where his eyes fell on a Japanese woman. Nick was quite taken by her personality, and after giving her a good tip, he went to sleep. The next morning, Kiyoshi took Nick to a metal factory for the deal, where he met an American businessman named Anthony. However, Anthony was not particularly happy to see Nick and started bad-mouthing him. He also stated that he would not agree to any of the Shiraimitsu gang's conditions because he was also in talks with their rival, the Seizu gang. If you don't give me a better deal, they will. Anthony was speaking very disrespectfully, and Nick knew well that further negotiation was pointless. So he picked up a typewriter and started beating Anthony. With this act, Nick made his intentions clear, after which Anthony agreed to the Shiraimitsu's terms. After finishing the job, Kiyoshi and his associates took Nick to a bar to celebrate his first victory. While everyone was having fun, some members of the Seizu gang suddenly arrived, and the atmosphere in the room became very tense. The head of the Seizu gang started taunting Nick, but Nick was not one to sit back and listen. He immediately grabbed a bottle and smashed it over the Seizu gang leader's head. Immediately, guns were drawn on both sides. But at that moment, the Seizu gang was outnumbered, so they left after only threatening Nick and his companions. However, with his boiling rage, Nick had won both the hearts of his Shiraimitsu comrades and Kiyoshi's trust. As a result, Kiyoshi offered him an apartment to live in and the chance to become part of the Yakuza clan, to which Nick immediately agreed. A few days later, Kiyoshi gave him his second task, which was to meet a bar owner who was not complying with the Shiraimitsu gang's demands. This time, too, Nick handled the job in the style he was famous for. Kiyoshi also helped him, and in their own way, they continued to expand the gang's influence. After this, Kiyoshi took Nick to a Shirai Mitsu nightclub, where he once again saw the same Japanese woman who was dancing at the time. But then Nick saw Kiyoshi suddenly pull her off the dance floor and lead her outside. Kiyoshi's voice, however, was filled with concern and worry for the woman. Soon, Nick also arrived there, and he learned that the girl was Kiyoshi's sister, Miyu. Kiyoshi then asked Nick to drop her home safely. But upon reaching her doorstep, Miyu suddenly took on a different persona, teasingly inviting Nick inside. After a moment's hesitation, Nick also agreed. During their conversation, Nick's eyes fell on the Yakuza clan tattoo on Miyu's back, which was proof of her ties to the underworld. The next day, Kiyoshi gave Nick another job, which was to handle an arms deal with an American soldier. However, no member of the Shirai Mitsu gang was to know about this deal, which meant Nick had to do it all by himself. The next day, when Nick arrived at the docks to make the deal, he saw an unknown dead body. Before Nick could understand anything, some members of the Shizu gang suddenly appeared. They had come to ruin the deal and loot all the money. But Nick, having already sensed the danger, had hidden the $2 million in the car seat, forcing the Shizu gang members to leave empty-handed. But before leaving, two of them pointed their guns at Nick. At first, Nick complied, but when he felt his life was in danger, he suddenly snatched a gun from one of them and shot two of the Shizu gang members. Seeing this, the other men backed off, but they all knew well that the consequences of Nick's actions would be severe. And that's exactly what happened. News of this incident soon reached the leaders of the Shirai Mitsu gang, who immediately called a meeting, which Nick and Kiyoshi also attended. The leader suspected that one of their own men might have leaked the information about the deal. Kiyoshi told the leader, "Don't worry, the money is completely safe." Despite this, the leader was not particularly happy with Nick, as his actions could start a major gang war. To prevent this gang war, the leader decided to use a traditional method. As an apology, the Shirai Mitsu gang would give 2 severed fingers to the Shizu gang to stop the war. Hearing this, Kiyoshi felt terrible, because he was the one who had dragged Nick into this. Therefore, he decided to share the punishment with Nick. After this, Nick and Kiyoshi each cut off one of their fingers and placed them before the leader. A little later, in the car, Nick and the Shirai Mitsu leader had a casual conversation, during which the leader expressed his suspicion of a traitor within the gang, who was surely leaking their information. A short while later, their car stopped in the middle of a forest, where Nick's inclusion ceremony was to take place, in which Nick was to be declared a trusted member of the Shirai Mitsu gang and their family. After the ceremony was completed with all its traditions, everyone was busy celebrating. During this celebration, Nick approached Kiyoshi and told him about his and Miyu's relationship. At first, Kiyoshi wasn't happy to hear this, as Miyu was his sister. But he also knew that Nick was a responsible and trustworthy man. And so, after a short while, Kiyoshi accepted their relationship and told Nick that they were now not just friends, but brothers. Nick was now fully a part of the Shirai Mitsu gang, and to prove his loyalty, he decided to get a Yakuza clan tattoo. The design of this tattoo told stories of a man's loyalty to the gang. Throughout all this, Miyu was with him and was also very happy because Nick had now completely become a part of her life. In the following days, Nick progressed rapidly, and his influence within the gang was also growing. However, his past life had not completely let go of him. One day, while he was traveling on a train with Miyu, his eyes fell on a familiar face. It was the same man from the Shizu gang who had tried to kill him. Seeing him, Nick became fully alert. The first thing that came to his mind was to get Miyu out of danger, no matter what. Meanwhile, some members of the Shizu gang went to the Shirai Mitsu headquarters to meet with their leader. They wanted to make a deal with the Shirai Mitsu, but instead of sending a senior member, they sent a young boy for the deal. The leader did not like this at all. Despite this, a member named Orochi advised the leader to accept the deal. But this act angered the leader even more, and he immediately canceled the deal. That night, Kiyoshi and Orochi were drinking together in a bar, during which Orochi was very angry at the leader because he hadn't listened to a single word Orochi said. Kiyoshi could clearly see the growing anger inside him. He told Orochi to control his anger, but it was too late. Orochi stormed out of the bar, where he ran into Miyu. Orochi and Miyu had once been in love, and Orochi still had feelings for her. But Miyu clearly refused him, after which Orochi started to force himself on her. However, Miyu managed to escape. The next day, the Shiraimitsu and Seizu gangs met again, this time deciding to meet during a sumo match, which was an old tradition. This time, the chairman of the Seizu gang came to meet in person. It wasn't a business deal. Rather, the Seizu gang wanted the Shiraimitsu leader to retire and for the Shiraimitsu to become a part of the Seizu gang. The moment the Seizu gang's offer was heard, the atmosphere in the entire room became heated. But the Shiraimitsu leader immediately refused the offer because doing so would tarnish the Shiraimitsu gang's name. It was then that Nick interrupted, reminding the Seizu gang's chairman that the Shiraimitsu gang was home to dangerous wolves, not weak dogs. That evening, on his way back home, Nick ran into a very old acquaintance, Polly, who was a fellow soldier in the American Army and was here on vacation. At first, Polly was very happy to see Nick, but he soon revealed that he knew Nick had faked his death to avoid a court-martial, and he threatened to report it. Sensing the danger, Nick's demeanor instantly changed. He invited Polly to his home, and as soon as he got the chance, he killed Polly. After disposing of the body, he went to meet Miyu. But as soon as Miyu opened the door, Nick became enraged upon seeing the bruise on her face. He wanted to know the name of the man who had laid a hand on Miyu, but Miyu flatly refused to tell him. She also told Nick, "I'm pregnant with your child." After giving him this news, Miyu suddenly asked Nick to leave. Nick didn't understand what was happening, but he silently complied with Miyu's request and left. However, his mind was still preoccupied with Miyu's safety, and he resolved that no matter what, he wouldn't let even a scratch come to Miyu. Thinking about his unborn child and Miyu, Nick immediately went to meet Kiyoshi. He told Kiyoshi that he wanted to leave the Shiraimitsu gang so he could live happily with Miyu, away from all this. Instead of getting angry, Kiyoshi invited him inside with great affection and placed 2 swords in front of him, one to eliminate others and one for himself. Kiyoshi had taken care of Miyu since childhood, and now he had complete faith that Nick could take on this responsibility. Nick made a promise to Kiyoshi and picked up one of the swords. After that, they buried Polly's body together and erased all evidence. Meanwhile, at the Seizu gang's headquarters, Orochi had made a plan to destroy the Shiraimitsu gang from within by siding with the Seizu gang. The next day, the Shiraimitsu leader, Nick, and Kiyoshi went to a tailor's shop together. The tailor took the leader into a room to take his suit measurements. But after a short while, Nick sensed something was wrong and went into the room to check on the leader, where he saw a man trying to kill him. Nick immediately intervened to save the leader, and Kiyoshi shot the man from behind. The 3 of them were about to leave when Seizu gang members attacked them. Nick and Kiyoshi fought them with full bravery, but during the attack, Kiyoshi was shot. Seeing this, Nick and the leader were completely devastated. Immediately after this attack, the leader called an urgent meeting where he revealed that there was a traitor among them who was leaking all their information to the Seizu gang. This attack by the Seizu gang had now started a gang war, and the Shiraimitsu gang would definitely avenge Kiyoshi's murder. When Nick told Miyu the news of Kiyoshi's death, she broke down, crying uncontrollably. The sound of Miyu's crying filled Nick with even more rage. From the very next day, Nick and his companions began to kill the top leaders of the Seizu gang one by one, putting the Shiraimitsu gang on the path to victory in this battle. But then one day, the Seizu gang sent a message to the Shiraimitsu leader through a child, proposing to end the fight all at once. Despite the obvious danger, the Shiraimitsu leader agreed. Along with Nick and other companions, he went to an empty dock where the Seizu gang was already waiting for them. But everyone was shocked to see Orochi among the Seizu gang. And they understood that Orochi was the traitor who had been giving all their information to the Seizu gang. Despite his betrayal, the Shiraimitsu leader gave him another chance and embraced him so he could correct his mistake. But then, Orochi suddenly stabbed the leader in the back and said, "The Shiraimitsu gang is finished now." The remaining members of the Shiraimitsu gang could do nothing, as they were surrounded on all sides. After this, Orochi made a proposal to Nick. If Nick abandoned Miyu, he could save his own life, but Nick had no interest in his nonsense. Just then, a sniper suddenly shot Nick in the leg. Meanwhile, the Seizu gang used the police to raid the Shiraimitsu gang's headquarters to completely wipe out their existence. That night, Nick, avoiding the Seizu gang's eyes, reached Miyu to take her to a safe place. But his work was not yet done, as the fire of revenge was still burning in his heart. So he took the sword Kiyoshi had given him and went straight to the Seizu gang's headquarters, where he expressed his desire to complete his revenge in front of the Seizu gang's leader. But Orochi took the sword from his hand and called him an outsider who could never be a part of them. Just then, in a single move, Nick attacked Orochi's throat and killed him. The other members pointed their guns at him, but the Seizu leader stopped them all and then told Nick to leave, as he had completed his revenge. Leaving from there, Nick went to his home where he had hidden Miyu under the care of the Shiraimitsu. As soon as Miyu found out that Nick had avenged her brother's death, she hugged him and cried. From that day on, Nick's status in the Shiraimitsu gang grew even more, and everyone began to see him as their new leader.
If you want interesting movie recaps, like, share, and subscribe to follow us for more movie recaps.